You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. I appreciate everybody for taking time out of their busy schedule to rock and roll with us here on New York Giants Now as we get you caught up with everything surrounding this football team. Reports are coming out via Adam Schefter that the New York Giants have a free agency visit set up with former All-Pro cornerback Tre'Davious White. White is visiting the Rams today on Tuesday and is scheduled to meet with the Tennessee Titans, as well as the New York Football Giants later in the week. We've talked about here on this channel that the Giants need to improve that cornerback room. I'm a big fan of Deonte Banks. I like Nick McLeod as kind of that nickel guy that could play safety and compete on special teams, but the Giants don't have legit proven talent at the cornerback position outside of Banks. Getting a guy like White, who was once an All-Pro, still just 29 years old, has some injury issues, may be worth the price of admission. I know this, though. If Tre'Davious White becomes a New York Giant, we will be the first channel on YouTube getting a video out there. So subscribe to the channel for free, informative, entertaining updates every day on your New York Football Giants. We'll dive into Trey White's stats. I'll tell you what I think the contract should be and if the Giants should pull the trigger. But I think it is very fair for anybody to say that the New York Giants need to address the cornerback position. You're not bringing back Adoree Jackson this year. And outside of Deonte Banks, who is only a rookie and going to obviously be entering his sophomore season, they need to add more talent to that position group. Cordell Flott, third-round pick in that 2022 NFL draft, has just not lived up to the hype yet. Not ready to kick him to the curb, but I'm willing to know, or I'm understanding need to add more talent. I like Nick McLeod, the do-it-all corner, could play in the slot, play outside, could play safety, could play on special teams as well, but he's not a player that I want getting a large portion of CB2 snaps on the outside. Trey Hawkins, drafted in the 6th round last year at Old Dominion. The only thing he proved to me in his rookie season is that he's not ready to play in this league. And Aaron Robinson, who was a mid-round pick in the 2021 NFL draft, if I remember correctly, has pretty much not played in the last 2 years. So the only player right now that you can suit up at the corner position is Deonte Banks. So going out and getting a guy like Trey White, I think makes a lot of sense. It's going to be like buying a lottery ticket because of the injuries. He's only played 4 games in 2023. Stats aren't all that impressive. Like, you're not going to be able to see too much of the production in just a 4-game sample size, 12 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 2 pass breakups, and 1 INT. You look at what he does in some of his coverage grades. He was targeted 15 times. He allowed 9 completions, better than a 50% completion percentage, not ideal. Allowed 60 yards, 2 touchdowns, had 2 PBUs, 1 INT. And when he was targeted, he allowed a quarterback rating of 80.6. But you look back at some recent years, and he's had some good success. In 2020, he was a stud. 11 pass breakups, 3 INTs. But as you notice, games played continued to go down year by year. 14 to 11 to 6 to 4. And the production, along with the availability, has somewhat started to dwindle. He's played just 21 games in the last 3 seasons. And that's something that I'm not the biggest fan of. I've said it a lot of times on this show. Sometimes the best ability is availability. And 21 games in 3 years is just not available enough. Smart, tough, dependable. Dependability was such a big thing for the New York Giants this offseason. John Runyon doesn't miss games. Devin Singletary doesn't miss games. Brian Burns doesn't miss games. Illuminor doesn't miss games. That's why they signed him, and they made it a priority to sign those guys on day 1 of NFL free agency. Whereas Trey White, even though he's a former All-Pro, the availability has been a question the last couple of years. I like him as a player. Still just 29 years old. Obviously, when healthy, I still think he's one of the best corners in this league. The question is, though, will he be healthy? That's why if I'm going to sign him to a deal, it's not going to be a lot of money. And if there's anybody I'm going to trust when it comes to signing Trey White, it's going to be Brian Daboll and it's going to be Joe Schoen because of their connection with the Buffalo Bills. Brian Daboll was the offensive coordinator while Trey White was there, and Joe Schoen was the assistant general manager, and he was a part of the staff that brought Trey White to town when he was a number one draft pick, first round draft pick at a LSU. So if they want to bring him in and they think it's fair to do so, I would support it wholeheartedly. What do you think, though? I want you to sit in the seat of Joe Shane and decide it for me. Should the Giants sign Trey White in NFL free agency? You need help at corner. He's 29. He's had some injury issues. It's going to come down to the contract for me, but let me know what you think. Type S for sign, type P for pass. For me, the only real way I'm going to bring in White is if you're signing a one-year deal with a low amount of guaranteed money attached to it. Like, I would sign him for a one-year deal up to $5 million with $2.5 million guaranteed. I'm not going much further into my pockets than that to pay a guy that hasn't played more than 21 games in the last 3 seasons. You look at actually his Pro Football Focus grades throughout his career, he came into the NFL great. There's a reason he was a former All-Pro. Graded out as an 88.5 and an 89.8 in the coverage department. But every single season, his snap count has gone down over 1,000 to just over 960, to just over 950, to just over 875, to 630, to 300, to 182. The coverage grades are still fine when he's playing, and I think it helped this football team. But availability is a question mark. I would sign him 1 year, low guaranteed money. If you're not going to go out and sign Tre'Davious White, some other top corners that are still available, as it is a massive need still on this football team, I'm looking at a guy like Xavier Howard. I've always been a big fan of his coming out of Baylor. I think he's got some of the best ball skills in the National Football League. He's led the league in interceptions before. Just 30 years old. Best days are behind him, but I still think there's some productivity in front of him that the Giants could use if they sign a guy like him. If you want to go to another, maybe a Hall of Fame cornerback at this point, Stephon Gilmore, man. I would really love to sign Stephon Gilmore. Of all the corners we're going to talk about on today's show, Gilmore is the number one on my list. He just might be the most expensive. Getting to have Gilmore in the same room as Deonte Banks for even if it's only a year, I think would be massive for the development, growth, and maturation of a guy like Tay Banks' game. Gilmore's one of the best to do it, and he's still good. Is he elite anymore? No. Still a productive player, still a top 32 corner in this league. Would love to see him with the NY on the side of his helmet. Christian Fulton is another guy I'm keeping my eyes on. Still young, just 25 years old, and he played for the Tennessee Titans last year. So he has a relationship with new defensive coordinator Shane Bowen. Has not been great in his NFL career. Pro Football Focus has not been kind to him when assessing his grades and his critiques. Needs to get better. I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on him, and I like the connection that he has with the current defensive coordinator Shane Bowen. If you're looking for a slot corner, Avonte Maddox is someone that I think the Giants should keep their eyes on. 27 years old. He's played in the slot predominantly throughout his career. Not the best slot corner, but it's a position of need. As I'm not so sure who the slot corner is going to be this year. Don't have the most confidence in slot. Maybe it's Nick McLeod. But adding a guy that's done it before, I think Avonte Maddox would make a lot of sense. I want you guys to get out the red pen, though, for me. Be honest with me in the chat. Grade the Giants free agency so far. A, B, C, D, or F. If you had to grade the work that Joe Shane's done through a week and a half of free agency, give me a grade down in the comment section. And remember, you can follow me over on Twitter and Instagram at @MarshallGreen_ is the handle on both. Hit me up over there so you never miss a thing when it comes to the New York Giants. And go get his freaking corner, Joe Shane. Get it done. We'll see you later. Let's go Big Blue.